Stories from the Storm is a project of the Houston Flood Museum in partnership with Houston Public Media and is supported by Houston Endowment. Visit houstonfloodmuseum.org.
I think that still it's the vision issue.
Yeah.
To me, that's what it's really missing is we have no long-range concept of how we pull all of this stuff together, because I honestly think the economic future of the region is at stake. Thinking back on Harvey a bit, the thing that comes to my mind is all of the media inquiries from all over the world that you and I ended up responding to.
Jim, there were a lot of things that were interesting about that. First of all, just the sheer number and the sheer intensity of those calls. I think I ended up doing about 80 interviews. I think you did more than that.
Yeah, I think the thing that just kind of blew my mind was that the interest that there was throughout the world on the storm and on both the difficulties, but I think also the uniqueness of the storm. And everyone was sort of looking at, particularly the coastal cities, the areas that had coastlines, were very interested in kind of what this meant in the long term for anybody living on the coast, because I think many people saw this as a climate-related storm. And the fact that that's going to be affecting everybody in the world.
Oh, there's no question. And it was also an interesting storm in that, of course, it came in and it stalled, and we did not really have a very large surge. In fact, we had almost no surge at all from this event on Houston. Now, there was surge down the coast, but Houston, it was a rainfall event, and it set a rainfall total that exceeded anything that's ever been seen on the continental United States.
And you've studied a lot of rainfall, so...
I have over the years, and I saw Allison in 2001, and we studied Allison extensively for many, many years. We even built structures and infrastructure to try to, if you will, come back from Allison, for example, for the Texas Medical Center. And one of the positives that did come out of the Harvey event was that the Texas Medical Center really did not flood. I mean, what was built there ended up protecting it.
Which shows what we can do if we get our minds made up to do something different and a little bit more creative. I think our challenge is to redesign the city for the future.
The plans of the 70s and the 80s and even well into the 90s was move the water downstream and hope for the best.
But that seems to still be, in a way, the thinking about the projects that are being talked about. And all I'm trying to raise is the fact that I think there is a more fundamental discussion. It may be, and I think it's vision.
Yes, and I don't disagree with you.
That has to occur, and I think it's really tricky how that occurs and how we get that conversation moving.
And it actually has to occur with the leadership. It has to occur with the engineering community, the development community. Everybody sort of needs to be on board. There can't be any one group that's sort of trying to do things in the old-fashioned way, because clearly that will no longer work.
We're seeing storms we've never seen before.
We are.
And we're talking about, I'm concerned that we don't think of the floodplain as being dangerous.
Yeah.
That, we kind of considered it, in the past, it was just an impediment to development. It was a kind of a piece of red tape you had to get past.
Yes.
These floodplains are actually dangerous, don't you think?
And not only are they dangerous, but they're also constantly in motion. In other words, the floodplain, the idea of the floodplain map, let's remap everything to a line on a map, it's probably a misnomer, and it's probably moving toward let's evaluate the true risk here.
I've been concerned that we're not focused enough on trying to get the biggest bang for our dollars that we spend on flood control.
Right.
That's what Harvey did, if nothing else, is it added to the list of claims on those federal dollars that are limited.
Yes.
And so
and not just Harvey, but also Florida and Puerto Rico.
And we're going to be seeing more of them every year. So
we are.
I think we've lost that desire at the federal level for that type of expertise.
Well, we've also lost that through the Environmental Protection Agency. The Environmental Protection Agency back in the day, led a lot of the charges on green infrastructure and all of that, and they've lost a lot of their good scientists.
Well, I think that, good science is a key issue here. And trying to get that appreciated and trying to get someone to be a advocate for good science and good engineering.
Now, one of the good things to come out of this Harvey experience has been that there's been a lot of discussions about bringing the universities into into those meetings with the powers that be, with both the political leadership and the county and city leadership, and we've had a lot of interchange there.
Looking also going back to nature and letting nature, the natural functions, letting them perform.
Sure.
And To me, it's interesting to think of nature as being a creative solution. On the one hand, you almost kind of go, well, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But on another level, to take advantage of what nature can do and realize we don't have to engineer it.
But I will say, at the end of the day, here I am, however months it's been since Harvey, I am more encouraged by what I've seen in the last 6 months than from any other flood we've ever had in Houston. So, things are moving, things are going in a direction.
I tend to agree with you. I think certainly on transparency and equity and this $2.5 billion bond issue, I think it's historic. But, it's hard to get support to go out and basically stake out a position that may be very difficult and very uncomfortable for the politicians to get to.
Right. Well, again, the storm may be forcing those politicians to take certain positions that they haven't in the past.
And, who knows, we may have yet others in our future. So
we may have other floods.
In fact, I have no doubt we will.
No doubt.